Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we're having an Indian summer here in New York. It literally has gone back up to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what in centigrade? About 22, 23?
25.
25 maybe, yeah.
I mean, it is like muggy and hot, and I mean, look at us,
It's
you know.
not muggy and
No, for those of us from Little England, this is
No.
muggy. I'm actually sweating.
Okay, but I'm sure everyone wanted to know that. They're really happy to hear that.
Glowing. Sorry, not ladies glow, don't they?
Okay. So we're reading from the Bhagavatam.
All right, it's Canto 4, Chapter 22, Text 18.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Text 18. Sanat Kumara said, "My dear King Prithu, I am very nicely questioned by you. Such questions are beneficial for all living entities, especially because they are raised by you, who are always thinking of the good of others. Although you know everything, you ask such questions because that is the behavior of saintly persons. Such intelligence is befitting your position." Maharaj Prithu was well conversant in transcendental science, yet he presented himself before the Kumaras as one ignorant of it. The idea is that even if a person is very exalted and knows everything, before his superior, he should present questions. For instance, although Arjuna knew all the transcendental science, he questioned Krishna as if he did not know. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj knew everything. He knows it.
It's Shakti Vaishnavata.
No, I was just saying because sometimes people say
I
they
knowing
know.
everything.
But he presented himself before the Kumaras as if he did not know anything. The idea is that questions by exalted persons put before the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees are meant for the benefit of the general people. Therefore, sometimes great personalities put themselves in that position and inquire from a higher authority because they're always thinking of the benefit of others. It's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes in class, like in morning class or a seminar, or there's devotees do that, you know, where when say the speaker says any questions and no one has anything to say, or maybe they don't know how to say, or they say a question is not so interesting or whatever, relevant, but then you'll find senior devotees or just devotees who are a bit more conversant. Yeah, you can tell it. You can tell when someone's asking in a way to draw out more nectar from the speaker.
Yeah.
And just to ask a general question. It's interesting actually. It's a nice etiquette, I would say. Nice to bridge the gap for the speaker, because you say any questions and it goes quiet, or someone just says something weird, but also like that to just get them to share some nectar about something else like that. So that's what that reminded me of. But also obviously he's very humble, Prithu Maharaj, and like we were saying in the previous reading, he has all rights to be proud almost, of who he is and what he's achieved and his associations with the Supreme Lord and all the demigods and that. But he shows such a good example of when some exalted personalities have come to his home, how to behave and just be humble and not like, oh yeah, not almost that like I'm on the same level as you, or I'm actually better than you, when your host makes you feel really comfortable, and you've been to people's houses like that and they just make you feel like they can almost melt because you think they're so nice and they're making me feel so
comfortable
special.
At home and special.
What's that?
Yeah.
That phrase, make me feel valued,
Yeah.
Like you feel that some people have a real knack of posting like that?
Yeah, I was thinking how this, like at the moment, like sometimes, or sometimes in general, we may have to deal with some sort of managerial issues, and sometimes we can choose to make proclamations about situations. And by making a proclamation, you immediately position yourself and also polarize others. Whereas this kind of mood is one that's like, oh, okay, so first we accept that maybe I don't know everything, and whatever I think my proclamation, whatever my proclamation is, I accept that it may or may not be the right thing. But in order to come to a clear decision around whether that proclamation was good, and also to be detached from the ownership of that proclamation, one could ask questions to inquire exactly how someone has come to a certain decision. Basically, you put yourself in a humble position and you just make inquiries. Oftentimes, or what is it? There's this Stephen Covey, his first first of the 7 habits of highly successful people is seek first to understand and then to be understood. And I often think that, if we could genuinely internalize that and really do that, okay, instead, no, I want to be right. Let me proclaim what I think is the right way and do that and say it and put it out there, and so that I'm recognized. And then I get all upset if people don't follow, or if someone has an argument, not an argument, but a reasoning for why not to do that. We get upset and like, and then we become so frustrated. But if we just went, okay, well, I think we should do X, but this person says that person says this. Okay, let me just create a space for inquiry and understanding. Let me just hear from them why they think, okay, all right. So, and then, but to do that with questions. And I think the same thing is there with usually therapists, coaches, like life coach type people. When you coach someone, you don't necessarily tell them what to do. Now, I think sports coaches might, but if you try to coach someone in life, you usually are asking them questions and trying to encourage and inspire them to come up with the answer that, as a coach, you probably know is the correct thing, like that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting technique also to pose questions, and it does. It means that, okay, let me just take the humble position and ask a question, because if I ask a question, it means I don't know. But most of us are busy trying to, like you pointed out, I know he knows everything. Most of us are trying to prove to everybody that we already know everything, right? Yeah. So like that.
And it actually creates a blockage in communication.
Absolutely. Beautiful.
When I think about that and people that act like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you just...
She means me. But yeah.
No, I don't, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, text 19. Translation. When there is a congregation of devotees, their discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. Let me read that again. When there's a congregation of devotees, their discussions, questions, and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. Thus, such a meeting is beneficial for everyone's real happiness. I wonder if this is... because that sounds like Ishtagosti. Maybe Prabhupada will mention that again. Okay. Purport. Hearing discussions among the devotees is the only means to receive the powerful message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For instance, the Bhagavad Gita has been well known all over the world for a very long time, especially in the Western world. But because the subject matter was not discussed by devotees, there was no effect. Interesting. Not a single person in the West became Krishna conscious before the Krishna consciousness movement was founded. But when the same Bhagavad Gita was presented. As it is through the disciplic succession, the effect of spiritual realization was immediately manifested. Okay, so this is great. Prabhupada really bringing out the essence of the purport while at the same time presenting a very practical and meaningful point. So the verse says, when there's a congregation of devotees, their discussions and questions and answers become conclusive to both the speaker and the audience. So it means if devotees are sitting and discussing, then everyone around will come to the ultimate conclusion. But then Prabhupada brings up this beautiful point that, yeah, Bhagavad Gita was known in the West, but who was becoming a devotee of Krishna? No one, until Prabhupada came and started the conversations amongst devotees, and then, he lit the fire.
Next paragraph, Sanat Kumara, one of the Kumaras, informed Prithu Maharaj that his meeting with the Kumaras benefited not only Prithu Maharaj but the Kumaras as well. When Narada Muni questioned Lord Brahma about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Brahma thanked Narada Muni for giving him a chance to speak about the Supreme Lord. Therefore, questions put by a saintly person to another saintly person about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or about the ultimate goal of life surcharge everything spiritually. Whoever takes advantage of such discussions is benefited both in this life and in the next.
Beautiful.
That's nice, because also, like when you give class and that, depending on the audience or who's in the audience, it's interesting. It's like, it shouldn't be a sense of tension and what they're going to say and are they going to pull me out. And some people do that or ask questions in a weird way. But here it's explaining that if that mutual respect and basically mutually putting Krishna in the center, if it's there, then you give your class and then someone's trying to draw more nectar out. Not that someone's trying to, okay, what are the 64 qualities and what is this and what, trying to make you feel like, I don't know, I'm so silly, I just gave this class but I don't know the answer to that, so I'm so silly. Like, instead of building us up and enlivening, like it says, one another in Krishna consciousness, sometimes the inquiries can be quite
challenging.
Defeating and like a bit like, So that's nice, because then if that's the mood, then when you're in class and someone's asking you something, it's a nice change of consciousness to think, okay, let me hear what this person is saying, because it's going to give me another opportunity to glorify Krishna or his devotee, the Prabhupada, like that.
Yeah, it's not meant to be one-upmanship. But we should encourage whoever's speaking to bring out their full potential. And this point, that the speaker is benefited, kirtanam, the hearer is benefited, shravanam, and then both of them are Vishnu smaranam, because they're engaging in an activity which is helping them to remember Krishna. So beautiful. And of course it's the Bhagavad Gita seed verse, the first one, Machchitam Bhagata Prana Bodhyanta Parasvam Katyantis Chamam Nicham Tushanti Charamanti Cha, that the devotees derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another on the topics of Krishna. Okay, last paragraph, and we'll probably finish with this. The word ubayasham can be described in many ways. Generally, there are two classes of men, the materialists and the transcendentalists. By hearing discussions between devotees, both the materialist and the transcendentalist are benefited. The materialist is benefited by association with devotees because his life then becomes regulated so that his chance of becoming a devotee or making the present life successful for understanding the real position of the living entity is increased. I don't know if that made sense or if you could even hear it, but that motorcycle went by. But basically it means that if a materialistic person hears about Krishna and Krishna consciousness, there's a better chance they're going to come to the platform of the mode of goodness, where there's a better chance for them to adopt Krishna consciousness. When one takes advantage of this opportunity, he is assured of a human form of life in the next birth. Or he may be liberated completely and go back home, back to Godhead. The conclusion is that if one participates in the discussion of devotees, he is both materially and spiritually benefited. The speaker and the audience are both benefited, and the karmis and the gyanis are benefited. So everybody benefits just by doing what we're doing right now, and you're involved, and thank you. Hare Krishna. We're all being benefited. The discussions of spiritual matters amongst devotees is beneficial for everyone without exception. Consequently, the Kumaras admitted that not only was the king benefited by such a meeting, but the Kumaras were as well. So the Kumaras were also admitting that, this is good for us. We're happy. We're loving it. Because they understood the more that we sit and talk about Krishna with you or whomever, the better our life is going to be. So like that. Not sure if we just bleeped out there for a minute, but
Battery is going down.
Battery is just about
This phone gets used a lot from Mangarati to.
Yeah, it's true.
I've noticed that. I've got to be on that.
Okay, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for engaging in the most beneficial activity. Thank you for allowing us to participate in this most beneficial activity. And please keep listening and hearing and chanting. And you can do it on your own too. Just Srila Prabhupada's books or some friends.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.